It's a Friday morning here on Yahoo, and we check in with one of the guys who was out at the TUF 13 tryout here in Las Vegas yesterday. That's Adam Hill from the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Adam, kind of a weird setting, not the building, but the atmosphere is a little odd, a lot of pressure on these guys, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of a cool thing to watch. I mean, just hundreds of guys showing up and just hoping to get on that reality show and hoping that that's the best path for them to make it into the UFC. And it's really a very American Idol auditions-like setting. You know, you got Dana White up there and a couple of people from Spike and Joe Silva, the matchmaker, and they kind of watch the guys and check them out for a couple minutes and then basically tell them if they're going to Hollywood or not, or at least their equivalent of it.
What do they get in front of the panel? They don't get to talk to them, right? They basically just get to go on the ground and grapple a little bit?
Yeah, pretty much. That's the process they walk them through, just a couple minutes of grappling and really have the stage to yourself. So it's just two guys. They tell them to just get in there and roll and try to go for stuff. Dana tells them over and over again, don't sit there in the guard, it's not going to help you, so show us something and don't worry about getting submitted. You know, we just want to see some exciting things or see what you can do on the ground, and you know, they just kind of give the guys a couple minutes to showcase what they have. So, you know, all that build up and all that waiting, and it comes down to just a couple of minutes and trying to show your skills for them.
Pretty interesting who shows up. I mean, it's all levels. I mean, you could have we'll talk about Andre Galvao in a second, who's got pretty good experience and is a 7-time world jiu-jitsu champion. And then on the flip side, what was there, like some 51-year-old kickboxer out there with like a big shiny belt?
Well, that was a different guy with the belt, but there was you walked in there and it's kind of they bring them in groups, and the first group comes in, and there's a guy like, oh, that's somebody's dad, or that's a trainer, and then he's got a number on, and you're like, wait a minute, what is this guy doing? We talked to him, and he said he's 51 years old, had some kickboxing experience, so he had the pro fights that's required. You need 3 pro fights to go to the tryouts. And I believe he said his last fight was 1980.
Wow!
So he was really giving it a try, and he didn't do too well. And I'll kill the suspense right now. He didn't make it.
Oh no!
But he gave it the old try, and I know Dana was giving an interview with a local TV station, and Dana said, well, there's a lot of guys out here, and if they don't make it, they can get some experience, and it might help them out the next time. And the TV reporter said, well, what about the 51-year-old guy? He said, yeah, not that guy.
Safe to say that if you're older than the oldest MMA blogger in the world, me, then you shouldn't be trying out for a fight show. On the flip side of that, you do see names and you're like, wow, this guy's trying to get on a reality show that, has basically been reserved outside of a couple of seasons for lower-level prospects. Andre Galvao, when I heard the name, I was pretty surprised. Not that he's accomplished a whole lot, but he's huge on the jiu-jitsu scene, and he did just fight recently for Strikeforce and Dream, but he was out there, and I guess this is his next career move.
I guess that's the path he feels he needs to take to get into the organization, so that's the way he's going about it. It was kind of funny. There's so many people there, and not only the 300 people trying out, but so many of them have family and friends and managers and camps, so there's just so many people there. So it's kind of hard to walk around and take an inventory of who's there. But the first couple fighters that I talked to for the story I'm working on were like, man, I saw Andre Galvao here. What's he doing here? That's crazy. So there was definitely a buzz going around that he was there. I think some people maybe were intimidated by that fact a little bit of, what if I get my one chance here to show what I've got, and that's who I've got to grapple against. So, kind of an unfortunate situation for the guy who was matched up with him, but also generated some excitement. And he wasn't the only one. There was a lot of guys with some experience there. I know one guy I talked to had made it to the show before him and knocked out in the prelims. Another guy was Frank Lester, who was there. He clearly stood out, and Dana kind of chuckled when he saw him coming up to do his audition. So definitely some guys with names there, and the full gamut of guys with a lot of experience and guys that are known, and all the way down to guys who you were like, what is he doing here, and what experience does he have? So just a little mixture of everybody was there.
So you described the setting. So you've got a table, and then guys are going to roll in front of the Dana White and Joe Silva, the matchmaker for UFC. So like when a guy like Lester comes up, what's the vibe you get? You just said that he Dana kind of chuckled at him. Do you almost feel bad for guys like they're going up there almost knowing they have no shot?
That was actually the first thing I thought of when I saw him. I was like, man, if this is your only chance of getting back in the organization, I definitely feel bad for you. And It's tough. The right path, I think, is to go out there and get wins, and they know who you are. I don't think auditioning in front of them at this setting is going to be the way to get noticed again by them. But I guess you just feel for a guy that's in that situation where he thinks that's his best chance, and that might be his only chance of getting back in there.
So one of the guys who was out there just fought Joe Riggs on TV for Strikeforce, and that was Lewis Taylor. And I actually thought he's not great. I thought Lewis Taylor did a pretty good job in that fight, and he was out there trying out for TUF 13.
So did I. I thought he did a good job, and I was kind of surprised by his efforts in that fight. Another guy that was interesting to see out there. But if Andre Gallo has to be out there, then Lewis Taylor has to be out there too.
Who was the guy with the belt who tried to use the belt as a big pawn to get on the reality show?
Well, I know you're a big American Idol fan, as are a lot of people. I'm really not a fan of the show, but I am a fan of the auditions at the beginning of the season.
Oh no.
This guy was basically William Hunk. Is basically what he was. He shows up with some ridiculous Canadian title that he has, and he had a goofy shirt. I don't know if it was an ode to Razor Ramon or what, but it says "Say hi to the bad guy." Like, okay, guy, this is not the way to go about getting into the UFC. So then he starts his grappling session to try to show off for Dana and for Joe Silva. And he just starts talking trash to the other guy really loudly, in a really obnoxious way. The guy was dominating him, and he's like, "Man, if I wanted a girl, I would have got my wife to lay on me. This is ridiculous. Try to do something, man!" Just screaming it so everybody in the room can hear.
Wow!
And he just stopped talking the entire time, and then he gets up and he does this whole like, I showed my stuff, and then. I don't know how much we want to give away from this, but he stands up and he does not get called on to go to the next round, and he does the whole like, "Dana, you forgot me, man. What happened? You forgot me." And then he stuck around at the end. Like he was one of the only guys that stayed around and like watched over and tried to make himself noticed instead of just walking out of the room like he was instructed to do. So a very weird scenario there, and like I said, he was kind of the William Hung of the audition process.
Good job, Adam. You can find Adam Hill from the Las Vegas Review-Journal. You're up on Twitter, right, Adam?
Oh, yeah. Adam Hill, LVRJ.
And you do an award-winning late-night radio show in Las Vegas. The stream can be found at K-Dawn's website.
KDWN.com.
Yep.
And it's midnight to 1 a.m. Pacific time. Very exciting.
And we should pop the people who really pay you, and that is the Las Vegas Review-Journal. You can find that on the web at lvrj.com. Thanks, Adam.
Yep, thanks a lot.